Looks good.
Okay, so I'm really pleased to have with us today Alec Scott, who got his bachelor's degree a couple years ago with us. So, Alec, thanks for joining us. And can you tell us your name, what your degree, your hometown, and where you are now?
Yeah, for sure. Thanks, Dave, for having me back. Yeah, so my name is Alec Scott, as I guess you previously said. I originally grew up in Flagstaff, Arizona, so kind of up near the Grand Canyon. I now live in the Bay Area, kind of in between Berkeley and Oakland. Um, and I'm sorry, you asked one more. Oh,
Your
I think
current position.
yes, the current position. Yeah, so I'm a computer scientist. I work at Lawrence Livermore National Laboratory as part of the HPC division there. So that's high performance computing. I am I guess what we would call like a tool developer. So I'm often writing software that is adjacent to large scale simulations like climate models or large physics simulations, where I'm making it easier for researchers to take advantage of the large supercomputers that we have and effectively use them for their calculations.
All right, great, thank you. So, can you tell us why you chose to attend UA Computer Science?
Sure. I originally applied to U of A because I knew someone who had gotten their PhD in the electrical engineering program and liked, I guess, a lot of what they had seen from U of A in the sense of research. And when he was TAing classes, liked, I guess, folks that he had interacted with. Um, And I originally just applied because it was an in-state school. I ended up getting a pretty nice scholarship that covered my tuition and some other expenses. And I knew that U of A had I guess, the most well-funded high-performance computing center out of the three in-state schools. And so when looking at a couple of the other schools that I guess, wanted to go to and such, it made more economic sense to not take on a lot of, uh, I guess, student debt. When you're facing a bill that's like $60,000 a year versus free, um, it made it really, I guess, appealing to come to somewhere in state. And hearing good things, I decided to take the leap of faith and join U of A and then pursue a computer science degree under that.
Great. What did you enjoy most about your time in the department?
Yeah, I coming to a big state school was really worried that my professors were not going to um I maybe have time for me is the right word, or like I thought that there were going to be so many students that I was just going to be another head in the crowd and not really interact with folks. And I was very incredibly wrong on that one. I think all of my professors that I had, at least in the CS department, but I think at large, made time for me, whether it was office hours, sitting down and talking to me about stuff that wasn't in the textbook when I asked probing questions to figure out where things had been implemented or, how some solution had come out of, research somewhere. Folks recommended books to me. I remember getting recommended the book like Operating Systems in Three Easy Pieces after taking um, 352 and read that book and really enjoyed it. And so I think that, one of the things that I enjoyed most about the department and such was just the faculty that made it up. Everyone was very nice. And even in classes where there were 200 people, um, folks made time to answer questions both in class and out of class for me.
It's good to hear. Can you tell us about your favorite memory of your time here?
Sure. Lots of great memories of studying with friends or working on group projects in like the ninth floor atrium building in Gould-Simpson. Um, but my favorite one is probably taking 452, which is the more advanced operating systems class. I took it with Dr. Hartman. And during that, we wrote, I guess, a full system kernel in about a semester. And I remember just submitting that last project at the very end, and meeting up with friends and being like, oh my goodness, we did it. We wrote a tiny kernel, right? You wrote like virtual memory management. You wrote job schedulers to do context switching. And I think that really brought together, you start on such small projects where you're working on algorithms and passing unit tests, but that really brought a lot of it together for me as like, wow, all of these things that I've been building up to for the last, I think at that point, 3 years, I've successfully implemented a lot of them to build something real, right? Like an operating system is something that I use on a day-to-day in my laptop and such.
So if you could give any advice to current U of A CS students, what might it be?
Yeah, I think my biggest piece of advice would be to, focus on your classwork by all means, but try to pursue opportunities outside of class. When I was an intern or when I was a student, I did 3 internships during my undergrad. I started with an internship with the High Performance Computing Group, which is out of the, I guess, Department of Research and Development or such. It's part of like IT at a large. And I started there just by learning. I had had some experience writing kind of bash scripts and such on supercomputers when I was younger in high school, but I learned a lot by going to talk to researchers and helping them optimize their codes and using the systems there. At one point, physically rewiring one of the machines when we moved it from one side of the computing floor to the other. My hands have never hurt so much in, many, I guess, years of climbing at this point, as they did when I was messing with fiber optic cables all day and like trying to make that wiring look pretty or at least sane. Um, so I would say like get out there and try a couple of different opportunities. It really led me to, try being a TA, see if you enjoy that because once you get done with your undergrad, you have a couple of big decisions, which is like, do you want to go work in industry? Do you want to pursue grad school? And I think that classes can help on some part of that, but I think you're going to learn the most about yourself if you try working in a, maybe a startup environment, maybe a larger company, and in a research sense. That's what really grabbed me is that I liked being a part of research projects.
So finally, is there something interesting about you that we might not know? Maybe it's rock, maybe it's climbing.
Yeah, I mean, climbing can be a good one. I definitely started climbing a bunch. I think my weird fact about myself that most people would not realize by looking at me is that I've lived in 8 countries over my life. Uh,
Which ones?
Oh man. Okay. So my parents are both research scientists. They do a bunch of field work. And so growing up, I went on sabbaticals with them, which are kind of year-long research trips for folks who aren't aware of them. But they would spend their sabbaticals going and collecting plants in South America. So I spent time growing up in Argentina, Bolivia, Peru, Colombia, Ecuador, large parts of Mexico, visiting like parts of Honduras and such there. Um, so I spent a couple of years, interspersed. They're basically every 7 years we would spend a year, sometimes a little bit more than a year, out of the country at in other countries, visiting research institutions and living there for a couple months on end.
That's quite interesting.
Thanks.
Um, Alec, again, thanks a lot for sitting down and talking to us. Really appreciate it. Great to see you doing so well.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Dave.